Hey guys, this is Justin,
And this is Rob.
and today we are ranking anime grandpas. On the board, we have 14 anime grandpas. Only 2 of them are allowed in each of our 7 tiers. Rob, as always, take it away. What's your first pick?
Let's start with Yugi's grandpa.
Solomon Muto. Where does he go?
I mean, there's not much to say about Yugi's grandpa. He kind of sets his grandson off to go on an expedition of saving him because he lost a children's card game.
But he also sets his life in motion because he introduces him to Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And he also
sets his life as a Yu-Gi-Oh card player in motion.
which is his entire career. He's the most influential person in his life, I'd argue.
As a Yu-Gi-Oh card player.
That's the whole world. It's like being a Pokemon master in the Pokemon world.
The guy got his card stolen from him. He couldn't even handle that. He's pathetic.
For some reason, playing a card game has caused me to become severely injured.
Robert, politics, finance, and duel monsters. Where you putting this, man?
D for dual monsters.
You know what's really hard about this is before we started, we had this discussion. There's really very few bad grandpas.
No, there's a lot of really good grandpas in anime. There's a lot of terrible fathers, but a lot of great grandfathers.
Some mediocre moms, terrible dads, and I'd say all of these could be like in the C tier or above, or most of them could be. But you know what? This is the way we play it, 2 per tier. And I will go with, let's go with Joe Hokage.
Hey everybody! The Hokage's name is Joe Hokage!
Joe Hokage. What's his actual name? I can't
Sarutobi.
think of him as anything other than Joe Hokage.
Sarutobi.
The third Hokage.
The third Hokage. He
Yes.
is grandfather to Konohamaru.
Konohamaru.
That's my grandson. He's retarded.
And he gives a shit about Konohamaru. He's also a terrible ninja president, though, because he lets the genocide of a whole type of people happen. And let's put him in D for now. I think there's...
I could honestly see him going in E. Like, in addition to all of the genocide, there's how he basically set Naruto up to be bullied his entire life and was like, yeah, you deserve this.
But this is not the president's tier list. This is the grandpa tier list. And he's an okay grandpa to Konohamaru. He could go... This is a malleable list. He can move down.
But as a grandpa to Naruto, he's
not
awful.
Naruto's grandpa, though.
He's a grandfatherly figure.
Jiraiya is more of a grandfatherly figure.
It's a stretch. I mean, I would put him in E, but we'll see. We'll see.
I'm not tied to him to D. Let's just see what else happens.
Okay, I'm fine with you there.
Yeah, there's some pretty good grandpas on this list.
There's a lot of really good grandpas. Oh man, let's go Grandpa Gohan. Grandpa Gohan has a special place in my heart.
He's a pretty good grandpa. Adopts a alien monkey child from space. Takes pretty good care of him.
He comes back from the dead just to fight his grandson because he knows his grandson misses him. Like, that's pretty impressive.
I think Baba did that. I don't think that's on him.
Yeah, but
You're gonna give him the
he
credit,
knew Goku.
though.
He knew Goku missed him.
Yeah, don't we all?
I don't know. I mean, Grandpa Gohan sets this. He basically sets Dragon Ball in motion.
Is that what we're gonna say for every single one of these grandpas? Sets the stage in motion.
That is a testament to anime grandpas. They really are the catalyst for their grandchildren to become, the gods of their universes.
Yeah.
And Grandpa Gohan is just that. I don't know. I love his design. He's very wholesome. He's very, stout and short, yet somehow, this great martial artist.
Grandpa Gohan's cool,
Something classic and cool about Grandpa Gohan.
without a doubt.
I'm going to say B for now.
I think that's a little bit high considering he's literally in an episode and a half. But I'll let it fly. But I think I'm gonna move him down to C later. Let's go with Grandpa Zoldyk. I think he's gonna be the only person on this list that's actually a bad grandpa.
I'd say so.
He's I think he's super cool. He's this old man who's a total badass assassin, and he shoots lightning dragons out of his hands. But I don't think he abuses Killua, but I don't think he contributes to being hey, stop hurting our grandchild and poisoning him and electrocuting him.
Yeah, no, he's pretty much the, once again, foundation of the family. and that family is messed up.
Yeah,
Does not function.
He just sort of lets things fly. Like, we don't actually see him do anything. But also, I don't even think you see him interact with Kahlua much.
Nah,
but
he's the F. Of
Yeah.
this list, of this group of grandpas, he's the F.
yeah, like, if we have to, he's definitely the bottom rung of grandpas here.
Now, are you ready for me to give you what may be a shocking F?
I'm totally curious as what you're going to say, because I thought this was the shocking F.
It is Joseph Joestar. He takes his grandson across Egypt, gets his best friend murdered, gets his dog murdered, traumatizes the kid. Makes him watch him die. His grandfather, Jotaro, has to watch Joseph die. Then Joseph pretends that he's been possessed by Dio as he wakes up from his near-death experience. This guy is awful to Jotaro.
Well, first question, does Jotaro care? Like, if this was a normal person, yeah. But also,
Okay.
they're on a mission to save his daughter and Jotaro's mom. Like, so he volunteered on the trip.
Yes, but in exchange for that, he sacrificed Jotaro's friend,
Does Jotaro even like Haikyuu?
some random Egyptian.
Who?
And a dog.
Oh, I have doll. It's not like he did it. They all knew what they were getting into when they went on this adventure.
But that doesn't change the fact that these things happened. Okay, it doesn't matter that they knew what they were getting into. They were 17-year-olds, Jotaro and Kakuin.
They're anime 17-year-olds, and have you seen what Jotaro looks like?
It doesn't matter. Joseph is an awful, awful grandfather.
I'm looking at this list. Are there
Joseph
worse
is an
grandpas than
awesome
him?
character. I love Joseph Joestar. Terrible grandfather. Terrible father to Josuke. I mean,
That's
he's
the father
all
list. We're
around-
at the grandpa list.
and that's fair, but he's also an awful grandfather.
Think of this life experience. Jotaro has experienced so much of the world in this short period of time. Like, besides all the people dying, he must have been like, wow, this is grand time. I've got to experience so much culture.
I'm not so sure if that's how he took it.
I don't know how anything Jotaro takes. He doesn't express emotion.
No.
Okay, let's talk about this one. Where do you put Garp?
Garp
'Cause
is...
for me, I think Garp is worse because Garp literally lets his grandson die before his eyes. And I think we've had this discussion before. Oh yeah, this is a spoiler cast, by the way. So
If people don't know that Ace is dead by now, then, you know.
Our bad.
I don't know how that's possible. I don't know. Garp is really, really tough because what was he supposed to do with Ace? Honestly.
he should have fought for his very life to try to save Ace, even if it meant him dying. He didn't even try.
But it's more than Garp just dying in that case. Garp is kind of holding the Marines back from being even more corrupt than they already are. Ace is a sacrifice so that Garp is able to maintain the peace of the world.
But he loves the quote. First of all, what peace and harmony is there in the world? The Marines are corrupt as fuck. Like, how much is
Right.
Garp really doing?
But it would be even worse if Garp wasn't involved.
So you're allowed to sacrifice your grandson to do that.
So you have no problem with Joseph Joestar sacrificing a 17-year-old to save his wife,
His
but
daughter.
you have a problem with his daughter. I'm sorry, but you have a problem with Garp not even sacrificing his grandson. I mean, just not stepping in the way of his grandson dying to the extent you may have. Wait, here's the thing. Wait. No, let's go back. Ace died because of himself. Ace is a moron. Ace died because Akainu was talking trash about Whitebeard. Garp had already let Ace get away. Garp lets himself get punched by Luffy.
Garp could still intervene, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that
Not at
either.
that point. Not at the point Ace is killed.
I think he could have. I think he still could have intervened. This is the strongest, one of the strongest Marines ever. I think he could have done more instead of just being like, "Yep, gonna just watch it as you get executed publicly."
No, absolutely not. Garp
and-
didn't let him get executed.
In defense of Joseph, I'm saying he didn't choose. He didn't like put these guys on a pedestal and totally riffeth them and say, "Okay, sacrifice them, save my daughter." He's like, "Hey guys, we're all doing this together to save my daughter. Are you guys in? We all agree that there's risks involved here, and we're gonna do this." Should he have brought a 17-year-old grandson? Maybe not, but his grandson also has a ghost spirit that's super strong, and he wanted to engage to save his mom. So I'm saying everyone was bought into this from the get-go. I think they're both going to be an ENF. I think we just got to figure out who goes where.
I think you're deciding is Joseph, who chose to invite these people on this trip where he knew they could die, more at fault than Garp, who stood by and did next to nothing. I think it's worse when you are a catalyst for it as instead of a bystander. Joseph asked for it to happen. Garp allowed it to happen.
It's not like Joseph said you don't have a choice. Everyone knew what. All right, let's just. I want to keep moving. I'll give it to you. I disagree, but we'll keep it moving.
So Joseph F, Garp E. And even, honestly, I don't think Garp should be that far down, but we do have a lot of good grandpas, as we keep saying, so I'll leave him there for now.
I think we lost half of our audience at that 10-minute argument that we've had multiple times before. Okay, I threw Garp. It's your turn again.
Let's go with the Delilah Ketchum Slayer, Samuel Oak.
I don't know what his real Japanese name is, but Samuel Oak. Where do you want to throw him?
So as a grandfather, once again, he gives Gary a Pokemon. That's about it for their relationship, right? I mean, he's, I guess, Gary's mentor. Gary becomes a professor himself.
He inspires the young lad. Too.
He inspires Gary. He also has a granddaughter, but we don't really see much of her.
Oh, yeah. The hot sister that we don't know about.
Yeah. He slays Ash's mom on the daily. He very well could be Ash's dad, but, you know, that's an irrelevant detail. This is the grandfather's list.
That would make him Gary's uncle.
That's where things get complicated.
Okay. What are you thinking? Do you want to move?
C is fine. He's perfectly average.
Yeah.
He's not like a bitch like Solomon.
I wet myself.
You know, but he doesn't really contribute much as Gohan.
Can't believe you're hating on Solomon Muto, man. Solomon Muto survives a pyramid collapsing on him with his buddy, and he loses a duel on purpose to give him water, but that's besides the point.
Once again, nothing to do with being a grandpa.
True. Okay.
You want another one where you might be upset?
Well, what are you going with?
Nazu Hakase, the riddle professor,
I'm totally
is E tier, right?
I mean, he doesn't get much of a chance to be a grandpa. It's not his fault.
It's not ideal, but ultimately, he kills his grandson.
But he tries to save him. He's sick. He's not a bad grandpa for that.
No, but of all the people on this list, I think he's the only one that outright killed his grandchild.
Okay, this is where me and you have a distinct difference in mentality. Because you're sort of like, did you do it? Are you responsible? And for me, it's like intention. His intention was to save the grandchild. If he let another doctor operate on his grandchild and they killed him, would it make him a better grandpa? I don't think so. I think he put his heart and soul to try to save the kid that he loved.
But
you're like,
ultimately...
You're like, he let him. And this is the same argument with Joseph and Garp.
Okay, but even without that, in his series, as a grandfather, we don't really get anything from him as a grandfather other than attempting to save his grandchild's life. Unfortunately, it didn't work out.
Yeah. Top of E?
Yeah, and here's the thing. In, like, a general character tier list, he's, like, an A-tier character in his series. But as a grandfather, sorry.
He's so good with Kido, who's technically not his grandchild, but he treats him like it. That's why I'm sort of like, maybe he should go higher, because they're partners, but not really. He kind of treats him as if he's family, like a young child.
That's true, and
family.
He is constantly trying to teach him.
He's teaching him things. He plays jokes with him. So, like, and with his real grandchild, he tries to save him. It's not his fault the grandchild dies, according to me. Can we put him higher? Can we put him in D at least and put the genocide Hokage down a rung?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Because I think if we're going from a Kido perspective, he's actually a great grandpa. Like, he does like all the flag tricks, and he could go higher. I want to see how the rest of this.
I could see him going higher, honestly.
Might jump from E to like B. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know about B, but I could see him going higher.
We'll see. He definitely going higher, because I have another one on this list. The Jujutsu Kaisen grandpa, who literally shows up for 5 minutes and he's just bleh, and he just
flat.
Hey, Itadori, I'm grumpy. Why don't you go have some friends? And then he turns around, bleh, dead.
I kind of liked him for the 4 minutes he was in the show.
I think he's actually a decent grandpa. Like, to the point we made earlier, he tries to teach his grandson like how to make friends, and he kind of sets him on like a moral path.
But then he kind of leaves him out to dry. He goes in black.
But he has like 16 years of life that we get off screen. You know what I'm saying?
True.
But that can be said for a lot of these. Or I think Nazu keeps going up.
Yeah, I think we bump Nazu up.
Nazu's gonna keep riding this train to the top, man.
Wait, but here's the problem, because there's no way that the Yuru camp grandfather should be be A or S.
All right, tell me about your great grandfather.
He's honestly a pretty terrible grandfather. He's cool as absolute hell. He just like rides his motorcycle across Japan and goes camping, but like he's never with his family. He's just always like out camping and just doing cool shit like that. But
when he comes home, are they excited to see him?
Yeah, they love him. Like he's great, and he inspires his granddaughter to take up camping. And they're both like these really like
sounds like a recurring theme.
Unemotional characters, even keeled, and they're like, it's kind of fun to see them interact. But as a grandfather, all he did once again was inspire his granddaughter to love camping and riding her motorcycle across Japan. And he's not actually there with them too often. So
I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. Like he's kind of like living his best life, but he's also like not a bad grandpa. And whenever he shows up, like, oh hell yeah, grandpa's here.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's great. I'm just saying I don't think he's bad.
He's a cool ass dude, and I think C is good for him. And I think we can bump Oak up for now.
I think Nazo Hakaze is better than Oak. if we're treating Kido as his adopted grandson.
Okay, but if we're agreeing to Kido as his grandson, then he should be an A. If not S.
I'd like to put him in B. Let's keep riding up the
All right. So
Yuru
Camp Grandpa goes to C.
I feel like Yuru Camp Grandpa is sort of like Yugi Grandpa, but it sounds like from what you're saying, Yugi Grandpa is a better like presence on Yugi than this badass grandpa. Like they both inspire their grandchildren, but Solomon Moto kind of raises Yugi.
Yeah, but he's also a tool.
Man, you're so mean to him. Because like both of these grandpas in D tier are actually like present and like influential in their lives, whereas like not to say that Yuru Camp Grandpa isn't, but he literally just like shows up every once in a while, which is why I'm like, you think he's cool? Not the best grandpa.
Yeah, but he's cool. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I refuse to put Solomon Moto anywhere higher than B.
I'm bending a lot to your strict rules of who's cool and who's a bad grandpa.
Fight for somebody here. You're up.
All right, I think we might have fucked up somewhere because these four grandpas are not S and A. So
no.
Actually, this guy's a really good grandpa. This is Makarov from Fairy Tail. His grandson's actually a piece of shit. But is
it his fault? Did he raise him?
His son is a piece of shit who's an enemy, but he kind of like reforms his grandson in a way, and he's the leader of the guild, and he's kind of the grandpa to all of them. Like all 100 guild members look up to him like a grandfather, and they're sort of like a bunch of ragtag magicians and wizards and stuff that kind of treat him like the father figure of the entire organization. And I think he's kind to his grandson, if I remember correctly, but his grandson is just like an elitist asshole who's trying to like overthrow him at points, and eventually he warms him over.
He sounds like a pretty good guy.
he's solid. He's a solid man. I'm thinking A probably. I think
does he have a long-term presence in the story?
Yeah, he's cool. He's like there's a one point where like there's an evil doer who's stronger than like their entire guild combined, and he pretty well almost sacrifices his life to fight this guy off to save all of them.
Okay, he sounds legit.
Yeah, if we're talking like all the kids at the guild as part of his grandchildren, then I'm 100% A. If we're talking just him and his grandson Luxus, then I'm sort of like I'm not sure, but I think A is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean if we're looking at Nazu Hakase and his grandson being kid, then we can look at him and his grandchildren being just the people that look up to him.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that in terms of the Hokage, but I think people respect him, but people don't look at him as a grandpa. He's like a president.
Yes.
Okay. All right, you're up.
So I'm going Grandpa Gojo right now.
Okay.
I think he's an A tier only for the fact that he supports his grandson's crippling hentai addiction.
He's just like, if that's what you're into, walks away.
No, but genuinely, I think his relationship with his grandson is one of my favorites in anime in general. It's just that wholesomeness of his grandson seeing what his grandfather does for a living and becoming passionate about it, and then him
like
taking
selling
the time.
Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
No, irrelevant. And then him taking the time to like teach him, like being very patient with it, supporting him, and being critical but not mean about how he's developing in his art, in his craft of designing the dolls. He's very supportive. Once again, supports the hentai addiction, supports him wanting to make all the cosplay outfits. He's just a genuinely good guy, and he's the one raising his grandson.
I have 3 things to say about Grandpa Gojo. Number one, kind of reminds me of your grandfather. Supports your crippling hentai addiction, kind of supports you in your woodworking endeavor. Number two is it's weird to put him so high because he's so new, and usually we kind of have this like legacy bias. And number three is he's so grounded. This is a real person. Like no one else on this list is a real person. It feels like they're anime characters, but this could be like someone's real grandfather. And it's weird to put him above all these icons, but I don't disagree.
And honest to God, I think maybe he is S.
I think
he exemplifies what it means to be a grandfather better than any character on this list.
He's also like the ultimate wingman. Like hot babe comes over and he just sort of like, why don't you come over for dinner more? Like out of genuine concern, but he's also like, why don't you come over for dinner and hang out with my grandson a little bit more?
This is S tier.
Grandpa Gojo, what a surprise.
Yeah, this is the shocker of it so far.
I guess it's weird because the stakes are lower in this series as well, because no one's dying. Like Makarov is like sacrificing his literal life, but like that's not going to happen in My Dress Up Darling. Like
he did sacrifice his back.
He did. I don't know. We'll see if he stays in S. Let's go to Coach Ukai.
Coach Ukai is more of the mentor character, more of the Jiraiya, the Roshi, than he is the grandfather to the younger Ukai, right?
I was thinking that as well. Like, he's not a grandfather to any of the volleyball players. Like, I wouldn't take him as this adoptive type of grandpa player. And then him with young Ukai is like, I don't see their relationship much at all.
No, it really isn't overly developed.
I think he inspires him, much like everyone else on this list.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he's a volleyball coach. He becomes his grandson becomes a volleyball coach too at the same school.
He's almost like this figure that young Ukai kind of strives to be towards, but not necessarily like. It's weird. It's like they're not close, but more like this is the standard.
This is the standard, but he also like at first is running from it. So there's clearly some sort of tension. Yeah. This is where things become tough.
I think that these two grandpas in B are more loving, for sure.
And I think Grandpa Gohan has more of an impact on Goku in terms of how much Goku cares about his grandfather in return. Like, Goku loves Grandpa Gohan.
Kido loves Nazo Hokage.
No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm going back to Ukai. Like, how much does
I don't think
his grandfather matter to him? I think Ukai definitely has to be in C.
Let's see.
And then, what are we doing? I think we're choosing between Grandpa Gohan.
But who goes in B?
Oh, it's Sam Oak. Absolutely.
Why? Why is Sam Oak so high for you? Like,
because he sent his grandson and neighbor out on an adventure just so he could slay Ash's mom.
No, I'm not letting this happen. Oh gosh, like this is my problem with what we are like in terms of actual grandfatherliness. Like, Yugi's grandpa, Itadori's grandpa, and the Hokage, even though he causes a mass genocide, are all actually like good with their grandchildren, and even Joseph's like pretty decent with his grandchild.
Then what are we doing?
Garp is weird because like he's trying to capture his grandkids, but like he's kind of playing with them, but I don't know if they're really close, and he also sends them out in a forest and sends them out with like a bandit to get their ass kicked when they're children. Like, that's why I'm not a big Garp fan from a grandpa perspective.
Which is fair.
Like Joseph, like he loves Jotaro, but Jotaro's just like stone cold and he doesn't give a lot of emotions. There's not going to be a lot of hugging, but he cares about him. That's why I think he's better than Garp.
Well, we're not going back to Joseph and Garp. We're just trying to figure out.
I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying that there's 4 grandpas below this C tier that are actually affectionate and loving grandpas, but you're creating this false wall of C-ness because they're cool and you like Sam Oak slaying Delia Ketchum. Like, none of these 3 are actually like loving grandpas. They're all influential, but so is everyone below.
Okay.
Is that a fair argument?
You're right. So it seems like Solomon deserves to go to B.
Which is bizarre. Who goes down?
I guess Ukai.
Man, you really want these 2 in C.
I want cool camping grandpa on his motorcycle to be in C.
This is ridiculous. This is so ridiculous. All right, we're keeping this here. I need to debate this in a second. Where's Senzaemon go? S?
I would say A, and we move.
I don't know. So maybe, but Senzaemon, like, Alice and Erina both love him.
And he's so cool.
And he's so badass. And again, the influence of cooking. He's the chairman of the school. He asked Soma to save Erina at one point because he's not capable of doing it. And like I remember like rewatching parts of season 2, and like Alice is like always like jumping around, like, hey grandpa, like what's up? Like she's always like very playful with him. And Erina has a lot of respect for him, and she doesn't respect nobody.
That's very true.
I could put him at least A. And maybe move Makarov up.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
And then I just want to finish this fucking list. So here you go. Ukai goes to D. Right ahead
Beautiful.
of Bleh. Grandpa.
Bleh.
Ridiculous.
This is a list.
Your hatred of Salomomoto didn't work. And I don't even like Salomomoto.
There's a lot of really good grandpas on this list, though. It was hard to do.
Yeah, we could really chop off the bottom part of this list and move everybody up a little bit. But here's our list of our 14 favorite grandpas. What do you guys think? Any grandpas that we missed? Let us know in the comments. And happy Father's Day to all the grandpas out there.
Happy Father's Day.